mercato. Lotta per il mondo, dà il senso alla tua vita, contro la loro giustizia infinita. Di cose ne puoi fare, di cose ne puoi dire. Primo, reagire, disobbedire.
Si accendono le luci, crescono le voci, la tua gente intorno a te. Sali sul quadrato che hai sempre sognato, nel tuo cuore sai perché. Pronto per lottare, pronto anche a cadere e rialzarti per colpire. Senza indietreggiare, non un passo dietro, sempre pronto anche a soffrire. La tua vita è in quel quadrato, nei tuoi guanti la città, la tua forza, la tua curva che mai ti lascerà come gradinata per la tua brigata. Sudore e lacrime, vecchio antifa boxer. Si annebbiano le luci, si offuscano le voci, ma senti altri dentro te. Dal basso sei arrivato, dal basso sei cresciuto, la coscienza sai cos'è. Quel logo tatuato per cui hai sempre lottato, un destro, un sinistro e vai. Quel sogno che appartiene, ti scorre nelle vene, non lo cederesti mai. La tua vita è in quel quadrato, nei tuoi guanti la città, la tua palestra popolare che mai ti lascerà come gradinata per la tua brigata. Sudore e lacrime, vecchio
Hello, 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 hello. 1 2 1 2 test 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 test. Okay, that works. Let me actually like switch to the scene. That's it. All right, let's go. All right. Hello, does it work? Come on, OBS. There you go. Nice. Okay, it works. All right, this is gonna be scuffed again. Hey, Lux. Hey, yo.
Whoa. Wait, what are you
Um.
doing here? It's like 7 a.m. for you.
Yeah.
It happens. Okay.
Lux Affinity.
They were here.
Says the Lux Infinity at 3 a.m.
They were here at the last viewing, you know. Out of like the three I did. They Kelly were here at like
Welcome to
two
the
of them.
couch.
Welcome to the couch. The casting couch. Oh
Thank you,
no.
thank you.
By the way, I'm live
Oh,
and
yeah,
like everyone can
you're
be
fine,
sitting
yeah.
right now. Well, I'm waiting a tiny bit because there's a few people that wanted in, and also you know how it is. All right, I always make this joke, but we're leftists. We're never on time. Okay. It never starts on time. Whenever like an event and like an action and everything, something is obviously gonna go wrong, and something is gonna be late at always, all the time. I think it's because we just, you know, hate how everything is needs to be like under rules and stuff like that. Actually had like an action when I went to, and it was like okay, I'm not gonna disclose which one it was, but it was an action, and there was a lot of people who were suspicious because it was kind of a cult that was public, and so people were scared of people like like cops or getting like fascist inside of the thing, and so the event started pretty late. It was like 20 minutes late or something. And someone in the actual like preparation talk was like, yeah, this is kind of sus, especially like those people who are like kind of too much on time and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny to me because it's like it's always this kind of thing, and it's like, yeah, we're leftists, we have to be late, otherwise suspicious. But that's just that's just my random rambling. Let me just check. Well, my audio is good off. There you go.
Yep, no worries. Take your time.
Take that. Yeah, I'll take that as a way to get a tiny bit more time for people to
You know, it's crazy how
swoop
left
in.
I have veered off ever
I
since
saw your
1 year.
You saw the police scale.
Yes.
I mean, this.
Yeah.
The thing is, this scale is very French. It's made by French people, and it's like very French oriented social issues that were present, like I guess in like 2018, something like that, if I remember. The question are pretty like towards this. So I feel like nowadays even the question are not so like controversial, right? And so I mean, I hopefully like yeah, it's good that people are like more left, like culturally, to that point of like from 2018 in a way. But also for you did that questionnaire like more recently, so I guess that's also why.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but like for me, I did like way back in the day. Actually, it was before 2018. Holy shit. And I was some of my thought changed a lot, obviously, with cultural, with my own like politics teaching and how I grew as like an individual. All right, let me get the links, and then I'll explain a tiny bit more because we're gonna watch two videos. It is two videos that are a bit. It's gonna be a bit of an like intent for me. It's like it will not be as straightforward as the last one, where the Noam Chomsky documentary. It will be a bit more experimental, you could say. especially because the first one is gonna be a French one that I translated, because I think it's nice to have and to get, but it's also French in the sense of it's gonna be hard to understand and it's very fast. So it's like initially it's a rapper that like does this kind of like journalistic coverage, politic. It's like a political talk slash essay slash try to shake people's up. It's like it's 11 minutes. It's not super long, but you will have to maintain complete like focus on the subtitles because it's gonna go fast. It's a rapper, so it's gonna be pretty fast. And also, there's some terms in there that are pretty rough to follow, and it's also to translate from French to English, because it's like also a lot of slangs. So I did my best. I think it works, but the subtitles are very fast. So if you're not used to reading subtitles, that might be an issue. And especially with some specific word which you don't see often, and that I try to make sure is more fitting with the actual slang terms. So it's like also kind of like slang termish on English. So it's very it's very weird. It's a very much of an attempt. We'll see how it goes. Here, let me just load it right now.
Bon, faut qu'on parle vite fait du
It's
bordel
okay.
actuel parce que ça va
I mean,
We'll see.
Well, yeah,
We'll
we'll
see.
see,
It's
we'll see,
it's
yeah.
intense. You might want to go closer as well because the lyrics are going to be a bit low here. If you're in the world, if you're on the
Sure.
stream, I will move the camera so you get a bit more thing. Make sure your head doesn't poke from the projector as well because the lyrics are pretty long. Well, I mean, this corner is fine. You'll be fine. Don't worry. I'm just gonna stand in this beanbag at the end of the day. All right. All right. Let me just see if everything is set up. Am I expecting anyone else to join? Not really. Initially, it's kind of funny. My brother was supposed to be here. Might have been interested to join in. But I don't think he's gonna show up because it could have been funny to actually also hear his own experiences. So let me switch to this. There you go. All right. So political teaching, my third ever I do. This is gonna be my small introduction for the stream. And for the people that don't know, hi, my name is Chatmans. I am personally someone that work in organizing events for VOD chats with a political outlook on this. Why I do this is basically political. I do think that VRChat has a lot to offer politically and culturally for the leftist sphere, for example, understanding LGBT and queer people, and also just generally understanding that we as a community can forge bonds and forge relationships across borders that are basically very strong in a way to mitigate one's country fall into fascism. So this is something that we see currently in the US with the actual ongoing falling of the US hegemony. And I have personally, I'm not from the US, but I have a lot of people I know from the US that are very scared at the moment. Some even were not able to attend this thing because they have a lot of things going on in the US right now, but they want to hear about it once they have like their mental capacity like restored with like this last month that happened. A lot of people are very much overwhelmed at the moment. A lot of people, knowing that I am political, very political, seek out to me to ask about how can I help, how can I do things, where can I go, and hopefully these political teachings are helping out a tiny bit into one, learning a bit more about activism and militantism, learn about more about like socialism in general, or at least progressive politics, which I hold. It does mean that I am not gonna engage with anything conservative or reactionary. I'm not. This is not. This is not the place. This is very much biased. I am personally an activist on the left. I work in unions. I work in independent groups. I follow up actions that are like, on my own independently. So I am very biased. But knowing that in VR chat there's a lot of people who are not super political, I don't want to just throw a lot of like very, radical things at them. I want to slowly ease into it. So far we did 3 documentary reviewing. First one was for Palestine. So the coverage, it was 2 documentary, one for, it was 2 documentary about Gaza, one from 2016 and one from, the current genocide that is going on. And the all atrocities that the Israeli army and Israeli government is perpetuating onto the Gazan population. That was the first one. The first one was not shown on stream. I have no recording of it. Simple reason is that it is not fitting for Twitch. It is not fitting on the TOS sites because there's some very upsetting imagery in there that I was not able to stream. So that does mean that those political teaching might not be streamed sometimes for very obvious reasons that, I have to be careful and also for the sensitivity of people. So that's one. The second one was a documentary. Well, it was the Requiem for the American Dream by Noam Chomsky. It's a documentary that was released in 2018, and it's basically a big breakdown of what capitalism is and how it mitigates with the induced inequality the actual democracy, the supposed democracy we're living under. How basically capitalism and capital owner are basically against democracies and always have been. And so for that reason, showcase multiple layers of how to reduce democracy, and also talk about a lot of like different philosophical aspects of politics, leftist politics, what progressive politics should be at this moment, at this day and age, and possible action. It was a very hopeful documentary, but also kind of a wake-up call. This one today is more about, okay, so we've learned about all these. All right, we know that Palestine, like that's a genocide going on, fueled by the U.S. and the U.S. hegemony, the Western world hegemony, actually. We know how capitalism is basically destroying our democracies and are reducing as much as possible in order to alienate people and turn ourselves against each other, even destroy our own world just for greedy gains, in hopes that the capital owners wouldn't have to suffer under ecological disaster. This is basically, just capital owner thinking they can survive, but it will affect everyone. We know that. Especially it will affect us. And so we have to stand and survive ourselves because they are against us. Now that we understood the enemy, now we understood how the world can be very gruesome and dangerous for us, the normal folks, right? Because we are closer to be like homeless personally. Even if you are upper middle class, you are closer to be homeless than an actual like capital owner billionaire that is basically, engaging against you every day. How do we respond to that? How do we respond to that? And especially during the current political climate where the US is basically turning into full-blown fascism. And in my opinion, the reason why the US is turning into fascism is a desperation from people. It's not the Capitol owner that voted for Trump. At the end of the day, Trump also won the popular vote. So this is kind of very much telling of what's going on. Either people are lost in politics and not interested anymore, or they are basically, how do you say that? They are basically so angry that they will like grasp on anything that is just very like I don't want to say radical, but that is very reactionary, like very gut feely, like the easiest scapegoat you can fall like you can fall for, without like thinking a bit more into this. So this is happening now. The left and the progressives are basically needing like a good wake-up call. This is the first video. The second video will be more of a tame one. So the first one is very much radical. I'll admit. It is very much kind of, attacking towards the people that always said fascism will never arise again. So here we are. So if you feel, targeted, well, we can work on it on the second video. The second video will be more of a tame one. It's more accessible for people, and it will be about how to induce change and like how do we collectivize, how do we work together in order to induce change toward like against capitalism and see an actual future. The first one is very much anti-fascist slanted. The second one will be more ecological, because the ecological fight is actually usually more digestible for people, and it is usually also the first, in my opinion, the first stepping stone for people to go into activism. Usually people will do like some like ecological demonstration, action, etc. They will not just go full-blown into anti-fascism from the get-go. So the first one is very much radical. It talks about anti-fascism. It talks about like how the rise of the alt-right is everywhere. The second one is a bit more tame, a bit more digestible, and a bit more corporate. It's kind of funny. It's a very corporate video, but if you like, it's very like easily like followable. It's very clean in its rhetoric, and it's also you'll see, you'll get the like very corporate vibes, but the meaning behind it is actually very much pretty progressive and pretty spot on my own opinion, I guess. But yeah, anyway, that should be about it. Let me just check my DMs very quickly if there's people wanting to just join. Nope. All right. All right. Well, here we go. We're gonna go start for the first one. So once again, it's a rapper. Cal, you can go on the beanbag. There's no issue with that. Same for you, Lux, on the other beanbag. You will have a spot. It's just that the lyrics the subtitles will be quite fast, and for people on stream, I have a angle pretty good for you that should be here, where you will gonna see pretty much everything. Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, all right. We got it. That's about it. And let me just boot up on the PC, and that's it. All right. Once again, it's French. I'm sorry. I did my best on these subtitles. It's an attempt. I don't know if I'll continue doing these kind of things, but I do think that politically, France is a very much good example on things to follow. Well, not to follow like as like as an example, but it's a location in the world where a lot of political things happen. Marx was very interested into this. We had multiple revolutions, multiple communes, more like civil unrest things. I don't know if it's culturally, but it's weird because that's just French being French. And so that's why I do think that the French media is pretty interesting. Once again, this is also independent media. It is not like mainstream, of course, obviously. I'm not going to show you mainstream media.
Bon, faut qu'on parle vite fait du bordel actuel parce que ça va pas du tout cette affaire. Alors j'imagine que t'as vu Elon Musk faire des saluts nazis devant le monde entier à la petite sauterie de son copain orange Donald Trump pour son investiture à la présidence du monde. Est-ce que ça serait pas un signal de plus qui indique que tous ces abrutis sont complètement en roue libre, faute d'y foutre un bâton de temps en temps? Ouais, j'entends encore les discours de ces gens qui m'expliquaient que les antifascistes ils sont obsessionnels, qu'ils se battent contre des chimères et que c'est un truc qu'on laisserait plus arriver de toute façon. Bon, bah tu feras gaffe parce que pendant que tu te battais pas, les chimères elles ont pris leurs aises, elles sont rentrées avec leurs bottes pleines de merde et là elles commencent à les foutre sur la table. Du coup, tu me feras signe quand on aura dépassé le cap de l'obsession et qu'on sera passé au moment où on les laisse pas arriver de toute façon. T'inquiète, on sera pas rancunier, on va pas te faire l'affront de te dire qu'on t'avait prévenu. On sera bien trop occupé à se faire déporter.
Deliver the truth. Deliver the truth like directions before me.
Enfin, en attendant, c'était un peu grossier son move à machin. Je crois qu'il a pas très bien compris le principe du dog whistle, votre pote, là. Le dog whistle, c'est un sifflet pour les clébards. Normalement, y a que qui l'entendent. C'est quand tu fais dans le langage un peu codé pour donner des gages à tes copains chiens, mais que tout le monde crame pas direct non plus. Bon, bah l'autre, le plus intelligent du monde, là, il a pas compris. On lui a dit tu fais discret, c'est juste pour dire aux copains qu'on est là. Et lui, bah je sais pas, ça a dû rencontrer les obstacles en cours de route. En tout cas, c'est pas arrivé jusqu'en haut. Le type, il a fait un salut nazi devant la terre entière. Ouais, on a vu plus discret. Alors tu vas me dire, oui, bah contrairement aux autres qui font ça en soum-soum, lui au moins il assume, c'est une merde, mais c'est une merde courageuse. Bah d'accord, mais non, pas trop du coup. Parce qu'à aucun moment il assume derrière. Il explique que c'est ses adversaires qui veulent lui nuire, que lui était juste en train de danser à Macarena. Mais le pire, c'est pas que ces tordus soient pas foutus d'assumer leur penchant pour l'autoritarisme raciste au relent consanguin. Ça, on a plutôt l'habitude. Non, le pire, c'est que dès le lendemain, des médias du monde entier ont titré des trucs du genre, est-ce que Elon Musk a fait un salut nazi? Bah écoute, si c'est une vraie question, nous on a la réponse, hein. Disons que c'est difficilement discutable dès lors que t'as un poil d'honnêteté intellectuelle. Après, ça l'est peut-être un peu plus quand t'as des actionnaires réactionnaires et des proprios qui vérifient que tu racontes rien qui puisse nuire à leur projet conservateur. Enfin bon, les mecs depuis des semaines, ils nous balancent que tout le monde est antisémite, à raison ou à tort, ça on pourrait en discuter, mais pas là non. Là, il y a un facho assumé qui fait des saluts nazis en mondovision et tous ces petits troubadours se relaient pour t'expliquer que quand même, faut arrêter de voir le mal partout. Et puis alors, c'est pas le seul chelou de son boys club au mec orange. Il y a aussi un ancien bidasse reconverti en présentateur télé qui est pas mal gratiné dans son genre. Celui-là, il s'est retrouvé secrétaire d'État à la bagarre. Ouais, ils appellent ça la défense, mais tu connais, c'est les statesses. Alors bon, lui, il se sent tout à fait légitime parce qu'il a déjà fait la bagarre. Après, c'est vrai que toute la dimension secrétariat d'État, ça lui parle un peu moins. Mais bon, il est pas plus con qu'un autre, hein, il apprendra sur le tas. C'est lui qui a dit qu'il voulait pas de gonzesse dans l'armée, parce qu'à ses yeux, c'est bien pour faire du tricot, des gosses ou des crises d'hystérie, mais quand il s'agit de garer la Jeep, ça va plus du tout. Et puis surtout, comme il les voit que comme des sacs à foutre, il se dit que ça va distraire les bonhommes là-bas. Parce que pendant qu'ils seront en train de chasser la donzelle, ils sont pas en train de massacrer les civils. Et ça fait pas gagner les guerres, figure-toi. Sinon, ils ont aussi foutu un anti-vax à la santé, qui a une tendance au complotisme assez marquée et qui disait que le Covid, ça touchait pas les juifs. Ouais, bah t'en déduis ce que tu veux, hein, mais maîtrise un peu mieux le sous-entendu que son pote, même si ça reste à peu près aussi subtil que Jean-Marie Bigard. Puis sûrement à peu près aussi malin, effectivement.
Gérard Depardieu m'a dit un jour, il m'a dit, je ne fais pas de photos avec des mineurs. Si tu fais une photo avec la main sur l'épaule d'une mineure, la mineure, dans 5 ans, elle dit, il m'a mis un doigt dans le cul, quoi, tu vois. Je veux 5 millions d'euros.
Il y a Zucker aussi dans le crew, c'est le boss de Facebook, Insta, Meta, celui qui faisait le courageux tant qu'il risquait rien, mais qui a retourné sa veste dès qu'il a flairé un début d'odeur de pâté, et qui a retiré son pantalon aussi, ouais. Et comme il était lancé, a profité de l'élan pour retirer aussi les tampons des gogues des mecs dans sa boîte, juste pour faire chier les éventuels trans, puis surtout pour faire des petits signes d'allégeance à ses copains tout nus. Mais faire chier les minorités, ça leur suffit pas. Alors il a aussi viré de ses réseaux tout ce qui était fact-checking, et il a dit qu'il fallait libérer l'énergie masculine dans l'entreprise et y valoriser l'agressivité. Poser ses énormes baloches sur la table en préalable à toute discussion. La légende dit qu'il aura appris ça pendant les cours de marave, en se roulant par terre avec des types en sueur et en s'avoinant la gueule. Ouais, bah oui, t'as sûrement raison, machin. Le monde du travail doit manquer de virilisme, effectivement. Et y a bien qu'en s'envoyant des pralines dans le crâne que tu peux finir par déduire des trucs comme ça. En même temps, faut pas être trop surpris que les mecs y réfléchissent comme des tubs, du coup. S'ils en sont à monter des entreprises directement avec leurs burnes. Enfin, qu'avec des burnes de cum, par contre, hein. On n'est pas au Wokistan non plus. Donc les types qui contrôlent les plus gros outils de communication du monde sont soit des laquais masculinistes, soit des gros nazis presque assumés. Ils essaient, avec leur force de frappe incalculable, de faire chuter les pays un par un vers les régimes d'extrême droite qui leur excitent la nouille. Et pendant qu'ils font ça, il y a des abrutis qui se disent patriotes des pays en question qui les supplient de venir y faire de l'ingérence. Ouais, bardez pas là, on parle de toi là. Ceci dit, petit aparté, on sait très bien que nos patriotes locaux, c'est surtout le fait qu'ils détestent tout ce qui leur ressemble pas qui les rassemble. D'ailleurs, ils détestent bien plus les autres qu'ils aiment les pays qu'ils prétendent défendre. Fais-moi confiance, ils étaient pas franchement hostiles au fait de parler allemand hier pour convenir à leur fureur, ils seront pas non plus complètement opposés au fait de parler anglais demain si c'est la langue de son successeur. Fin de l'aparté. Donc, on a nos petits proprios de réseaux sociaux là qui laissent pulluler de la fake news en masse quand ils encouragent pas carrément le projet. Quand ils sont pas occupés à tendre le bras directement, ils se contentent d'y faire activement la promotion des pires théories du complot qui reste la porte d'entrée la plus efficace vers l'antisémitisme. Et nous, de notre côté, dans le gouvernement français, si on n'est pas complètement sur du tapis rouge, il y en a quand même pas un possédant ne serait-ce qu'un semblant de pouvoir d'action qui essaie un peu sérieusement de les empêcher de faire ça.
Elon Musk, qu'on voit ici à l'image, regardez, le milliardaire qui est désormais l'un des bras droits du président élu.
Madame de Castelbajac.
Oui, qui fait une
selfie avec
une photo.
Et d'ailleurs, ce cher président, et qui est Manu Lamarave, il leur fout pas un obstacle sur le trajet à ces mange-merdes, mais par contre, leur délire un peu viriliste de préparation au combat, là, ça lui parle de ouf. Il y a pas si longtemps, il avait tapé tout l'oseille de l'éducation populaire pour bazarder ça dans un projet d'encasernement de la jeunesse qu'il avait appelé SNU, mais qui était pas le retour au service militaire, s'il vous plaît, c'était le service national universel.
Il était prévu au départ que cette généralisation se fasse en 2026, mais le président de la République m'a demandé d'aller plus vite. Et donc je suis en train de travailler sur un scénario qui nous permettra de généraliser plusieurs années avant la date prévue.
Une sorte de colo un peu pourlingue organisé par des bidasses qui en avaient rien à foutre et des animes qui avaient peur de laisser les mômes seuls avec des bidasses qui en avaient rien à foutre. Ce genre de séjour ado où tu remplaces les soirées blind test par la Marseillaise au garde à vous, le VTT de descente par des levées de drapeaux en plein cagnard, et les esquives nocturnes pour aller faire des caps et fumer des clopes en scred par des parcours de santé au petit-déj avec un type mal luné qui te gueule dessus.
À mon commandement! Garde à vous!
Alors ils avaient dit pas de politique là-bas, mais bon, avec les drapeaux français, les champs belliqueux et les uniformes, considérer que c'était pas politique, c'était déjà un positionnement politique assez marqué pour le coup. Les animes, ils se disaient, de toute façon, si je le fais pas, il y a quelqu'un d'autre qui va le faire, alors le mieux c'est quand même que ce soit moi. Alors oui, c'est une défense un peu vichiste, mais bon, il y avait surtout plus que là qu'il y avait de l'oseille. Et les bidasses, eux, ils étaient obligés, mais ils en avaient rien à foutre, parce que les colos moisis avec des ados qui s'emmerdent, c'est pas le meilleur endroit pour recruter les futurs tueurs d'élite. Bref, c'était un truc organisé avec le cul, qui posait pas mal de soucis juridiques et qui coûtait un bras, mais c'était censé faire du brassage social, favoriser l'engagement, l'émancipation, la flûte habituelle quoi. Mais là, coup de théâtre, après que le Sénat ait supprimé les financements de cette merde, dans un heureux hasard de calendar, le président a annoncé la nécessité de faire gonfler les rangs de l'armée. Alors, est-ce que c'est pour tenter de dissimuler le fiasco de ce projet qui puait la merde et que personne n'a jamais soutenu? Attention, je dis personne, mais la plupart des assos d'Educ-Pop avaient signé le torchon, on saura s'en rappeler de ça. Est-ce qu'on est en train d'assister un peu plus clairement au retour au service militaire, et ce, dans le but d'envoyer nos gosses se faire laver le cerveau par des excités de la frontière au pied d'un drapeau colonial? Et si oui, c'est pour les envoyer se faire buter où, les gamins, là? C'est pour tirer sur les prolos de quel pays? Au nom de quel planqué qui prendra pas les balles? Dans quel but? Au nom de quelle idéologie? Ah ça, va savoir. Mais partons du principe que la bande à milliardaires français a le contrôle de l'information qui circule dans les médias de masse, et que la bande à milliardaires américains a le contrôle de celle qui circule sur les réseaux sociaux, s'il y a bien un truc dont tu peux être certain, c'est que ça va commencer à être laborieux si tu veux savoir des trucs. Ceci dit, il reste quelques médias indépendants, tu devrais peut-être pas trop hésiter à les soutenir, parce que ça sera pas du luxe au vu de l'ambiance qui se profile. T'as déjà entendu parler de Blast? Alors on peut regarder tout ça se produire sans bouger, les laisser encaserner les gosses, les armer jusqu'aux dents et les envoyer se faire buter pour des intérêts qui sont pas les leurs. On peut rester là comme des carpettes en attendant qu'ils s'essuient les bottes sur nos petites gueules de lobotomisés pendant qu'on les supplie de nous faire l'honneur de nous pisser dessus. On peut les laisser faire de nous l'outil qui leur servira à opprimer le suivant jusqu'à le briser pour qu'il puisse devenir un outil de plus qui servira à en briser un autre et que l'opération se répète encore et encore et encore. On peut, ouais, effectivement on peut. Mais on peut aussi se lever tant que c'est encore possible. On n'a pas leur force de frappe, évidemment, mais on a la nôtre, on sait même pas ce qu'elle vaut, et on est d'ores et déjà en train de capituler, à même pas essayer de s'en servir. On se laisse endoctriner, on les laisse vendre leur merde aux gosses, mais il a jamais réellement été question d'émancipation, d'engagement, d'autonomie. C'est des concepts qui les terrifient, parce que s'ils étaient ne serait-ce qu'envisagés, ça remettrait en question leur existence. Si nos libéraux autoritaires fascisto-compatibles foutent les gosses au garde à vous, c'est surtout pour s'assurer qu'ils pourront concevoir tous ces objectifs uniquement dans le cadre qui leur est permis. Le cadre des dominants, celui qu'ils ont défini, celui qui servira leurs intérêts. Ils ont réussi à convaincre que s'engager, c'était se fliquer soi-même, fliquer ses congénères, comme si les autokeufs étaient moins des bâtards que les autres. L'émancipation, l'autonomie, l'engagement, si on est honnête, c'est bien plus la révolte populaire imparfaite et ingérable que le fait de la réprimer violemment sous les ordres de ceux qui la craignent. L'engagement, c'est pas l'obéissance à l'ordre injuste et criminel, c'est l'insurrection face à la brutalité des privilégiés qui sont prêts à désigner n'importe quel bouc émissaire pour s'assurer de jamais devoir renoncer à leurs privilèges. Fais-moi confiance, ils ont aucune intention de foutre quoi que ce soit d'émancipateur dans le crâne des gosses. gosse, pas plus que dans le nôtre. Le projet, c'est la soumission, la léthargie, la docilité.
Parce que c'est notre projet!
Et c'est pas le nôtre, ça. Laisse pas passer ce qui est pas dans ton intérêt. Parle, bouge, montre. Fais ce que tu veux, mais fais. Agis dans des assauts, agis en autonome, agis où tu veux, comme tu veux. Construis, casse, bloque, sabote, grève. Défends-toi, parce que dans le fond, c'est que de ça dont il s'agit. C'est de la défense, de l'autodéfense. On a des modes d'action variés, de quoi nous rendre ingérables si on veut. On a un pouvoir d'action considérable, mais comment on fait pour se sentir aussi impuissant? Dis-moi, est-ce qu'ils t'ont convaincu? Est-ce que t'as fini par croire qu'on pouvait pas gagner? Et si c'était effectivement le cas, est-ce que ça justifierait qu'on essaie même pas de leur rendre la tâche plus difficile? Si le combat est déjà perdu, t'es sûr que c'est une raison pour pas essayer de laisser une balafre avant de tomber? Sérieux, qu'est-ce qui t'empêche dans le fond? T'as l'impression que c'est trop dur de se battre seul? Est-ce que t'es vraiment sûr que c'est plus dur que ce qui va se passer si on se bat pas dès maintenant, seul ou pas? Et puis en vrai, on est combien à se sentir seul là-dedans?
On avait dit plus jamais ça, on a déjà zappé. On a dédié plus d'un message dans nos canapés. Les avertis c'est pas des sages, on va pas se braquer, ouais. On avait dit plus jamais ça, ouais mais ça fait. S'ils ont la force de frappe, est-ce qu'on a les gens? Combien s'en tapent ou font allégeance? Mais qu'est-ce qu'ils font de si mal, ils sont pas méchants. Mati tue pas les gens, si, en tout cas pas les gentils. Nos capitalistes, bien qu'ils rivalisent, kiffent les fascistes, trichent et pactisent, nique, c'est facile. Ils ont la tira et l'armada pendant qu'on tira et on voit Kira et boit tes larmes à toi. On a déjà trop attendu, on avait dit jamais. Si tu rêves qu'on a le temps, ils ont déjà gagné. Si tu laisses les bras tendus, à quand les croix gammées? Oh si tu te lèves pas maintenant, tu te lèveras jamais.
There you go. That was the first one. I told you a bit more in the gut, you know, like it's a bit more shocking. It is a shock factor. It is a rapper at the end of the day. Ease, as you right, yeah, started rapping at the end. I mean, French wise, very fucking very compelling. The rhymes are great. The metaphors are great. It's for me, it's like it's one of those videos that really grasps on my guts and motivates me. I already listened to it, probably like 5 or 6 times outside of even just making the video, right? I just making the subtitles. But hi, Ease, by the way, hello. Also, Ayo Loomis, even though you left because it's political. So yeah, that was introduction. I hope it was not too fast. It was fine? Okay. What's up?
For me, it's too fast, but I can still keep up though. It's fine.
Yeah. You get the general ID. I guess I tried my best to do translation. It's very fast.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, it's really like straight on, like it goes right into it. And it is, I mean, it's true. It is true. We always told ourselves never again, especially in the European core, right? Because we experience fascism, we experience Nazism, and there's like a very like big gut feelings about never again. It's like something that you will hear everywhere, especially in Germany. And for all the people that said never again, this will never happen again. We will never let it happen ever again. It is good to remember that the Nazis didn't get into power by force. It was given to them. And here we are again. That's it. One of the quotes I really like is, alright, Ease, take care. I tell you sure about what happened today. Have a good one. Alright, take care, Ease. Of course, be safe. Everyone take care of yourself. Definitely do that. This is necessary at this time. But it is pretty radical. It's pretty straightforward. What I want to say is, we promise never again. Especially in Germany, it's like one of the big things. And there's always those people that are like, trying to mitigate, like, oh, well, anti-fascist, or just, overreacting. Oh, you call it. It is always turned into, oh, this is just the leftists doing their things, or like being overreactive and stuff like that. Well, here's the thing, right? We have a genocide going on. We have deportations going on. We have book burnings going on at the moment already. Gender clinics that are getting closed down, which, by the way, was the first thing that happened under Nazism in 1932. Yes, in 32, like the first book burning was a university / clinic that was offering, it was like a gender clinic, but also a lot of research papers about the queer people, basically. This was kind of the major book burning, and also a lot of people died that night. So it's not nothing. And while we are joking around because of like the Gulf of America, or more recently I've learned that Trump wants to rename Greenland the Blue, White, Red Land, or something like that. Dumb as shit. Well, we can joke about those kind of things, but there's people already getting deported at the moment already. But yeah. So that's about it. So that's the first one. It's a bit, once again, it's a bit brutal, and but the second one will be more tame. This was more about anti-fascism, and the second one will be more about how it's eco-socialism. The other one. So hopefully, it will be more digestible and more. Giving you more hope, because this one, if you're not a militant, it might feel already hopeless, and I don't want you to think that, because I don't think it is. Worst case scenario, we'll fight tooth and nail until the end, and we'll be on the right side of history. That's what being a leftist is at the end of the day. It's being right too soon, and being on the right side of history all the time, even though people don't agree with you. Right, tack, and... Alright, the second one, it will be more of an ecological slant, but it will talk eventually about capitalism. So the beginning might feel a bit off and like off topic about fascism, but at the end of the day, think of it that capitalism does foster fascism a lot. So that's why. And how do we collectivize and work together?
The grip of fossil capital seems inescapable. We've been under its grasp for so long that we rarely pull away and see the broader strokes of history. A history which teaches us that capitalism, and more specifically capitalism facilitated by the engines of fossil fuel, of fossil capitalism, is not inevitable. It only exists as a tiny blip on the geological timeline. Even across human history, economic modes have risen and fallen. Empires collapse. The everyday people of Russia toppled the absolute and divine rule of the czars. Chinese peasants wrestled off imperial shackles. Great change can and does happen. And in this time of deep planetary crisis, a crisis instigated and perpetuated by fossil capitalism, we must make great change. We must completely upend our destructive systems of extraction, ecological destruction, racism, colonialism, and violence to build a system that truly cares for the well-being of all people and the planet. Indeed, this is the directive climate scientists from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change have laid out for us.
Our world needs climate action on all fronts, everything, everywhere, all at once.
But it's not as easy as flicking a switch. Building an ecological revolution will be a long struggle, one that will take organizing, relationship building, and radical imagination to be successful. So today we dive into the wisdom and theory of organizers and activists who are actually building that revolution. Here's how we end capitalism and build an ecological world on its rubble.
This video is made in partnership with Give Directly. Stick around to the end or go to givedirectly.org/OCC to find out how you can take part in a direct cash transfer campaign trying to alleviate the harm of capitalism.
We cannot solve climate change without ending capitalism, and we can't end capitalism through reform or half measures. We've seen time and time again that reforms like social democratic measures like minimum wages and worker protection, while crucial for the working class, eventually are co-opted and hacked away at by the capitalist class. We saw this with Germany's Green Party, who were fairly radical before taking office. Still, as their tenure in power stretched on, their policy and actions were swallowed up by capitalist forces. Like when they greenlit the destruction of the hamlet of Lutherhof to make way for the expansion of a lignite coal mine, or when the co-chair of the party resisted raises of minimum wages in the agricultural sector because it hurts the competitiveness of the country. Working within capitalism fails because capitalism demands at its core the exploitation of workers and planet through the lever of fossil fuels, which I explained thoroughly in this video. The only path forward then is to topple capitalism. And to end capitalism and build an ecological world, we need some form of revolution. To actually create that revolution, let alone be effective in that revolution, however, we must be organized. This means that revolutionary organizing is crucial for charting the path forward. We must build a movement of movements with the core goal of toppling capitalism and building an anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, and anti-racist ecological world in its stead. Because after all, climate change will affect everyone to some extent everywhere. To get from where we are now, especially in the imperial core where fossil capital seems to hold absolute power, where surveillance, police, and military states crack down on any dissent, to some form of stateless, classless ecological society, right now seems inconceivable. In part, this is purposeful. Capitalism has been terrifyingly effective at waging a war on our imagination. As Ashley C. Ford reminds us, the goal of oppressors is to limit your imagination about what is possible without them, so you might never imagine more for yourself and the world you live in. Capitalism has alienated us both from the very products our work creates and from the communities and friends we need to feel joy. We sit behind keyboards and screens most of the day as our close connections dwindle away. This makes the inertia then to build and organize radical and effective movements feel even more heavy, especially when we face a choice between the numbed comfort of scrolling through TikTok or getting out into the streets, engaging others, and finding common ground to topple capitalism. If this is the case, if we are constantly being numbed and tranquilized to the horrors of capitalism so that we never do anything, how do we actually do it? How do we build a movement to end capitalism? To be clear, I by no means have answers. I can only look towards those who have dedicated their whole lives to building radical movements to beat back the destruction of capital. When we look across history, the times when movements have succeeded in bringing about the end of the capitalist mode of production, at least in some manner, have been revolutionary socialists.
Last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary.
These movements often adhere to the theory and practice of Marx and Engels, Lenin, and Mao. There is much to learn from the struggles and writings that came out of these revolutions. But let's narrow in on a few crucial lessons. The first is that when the conditions are ripe, the working class, the people, the masses, will be the ones to bring about revolutionary change. As the authors of a manifesto on eco-socialist revolution write, the working class is the largest group of people on the planet with the greatest social weight. Industry, commerce, healthcare, transit, local amenities, nothing would function without working people. As such, the working class has immense power over capitalists. They can directly affect their bottom line through walkouts, strikes, and even sabotage. Indeed, the exploitation of the working class is a major reason why capitalists can make profits. Which means that without a radical working class movement, capitalism cannot be challenged. This also means that building awareness within the working class about how capitalism exploits our labor and time, or in other words, raising class consciousness, is crucial. Here is where the second important lesson comes in. To build power amongst the working class, there must be a group of politicized and radical organizers lending direction and structure to movements. A party of agitators that concentrates the demands and ideals of the masses into an actionable path. Lenin described this as a vanguard party. One made of organizers who are dedicated full-time to the logistics, education, and actions of the movement. But crucially, these people are not separate from or hold more power than the people on the street, or any movement or group for that matter. They must constantly understand the needs, desires, and wants of the people through deep relationships, formulate plans and actions based on those needs, and then bring those plans back to the movement in a constant cycle of iteration. This is what Mao calls the mass line. Demands and knowledge must come from the people, be distilled, and returned back to the people. What this means is that mass protest on the street is not enough to upend capitalism. We need political education and direction. We need plans and organizations that bring our movements from the streets to seizing power and the ownership of production. Because the ultimate goal of any ecological revolution, any overthrow of capitalism, has to be the seizure of production. We eventually need to wrest control of what gets made and how it gets made from the hands of the ruling class and place it into the hands of the workers who are already integral to the production process. If all we ever do is shut down a highway and raise awareness, we will forever be on the defensive, forever trying to hold back the tide of exploitation and fossil-fueled destruction. So we must plan and actually build that future. Part of this planning and direction means drawing people in and keeping people engaged in the movement. As Dante Strabino, a union organizer from North Carolina, explains,
right? We gave people a winnable demand, something that they could immediately seize upon, that could help them build their own confidence and the desire to continue to be involved in a protracted struggle for the long haul.
Building working class power is a constant balance of addressing immediate issues to keep people engaged while also building towards a revolutionary overthrow of capitalism. And small victories on the road to larger ones are especially crucial amid the climate crisis. We need to reduce the harm of climate chaos and eliminate carbon emissions right now. So that means achievable wins like speeding up the shuttering of coal plants, pushing for electrified and free public transit, and more are essential. These are non-reformist reforms to build power on the path towards toppling capitalism. But until we are actually building and putting these lessons into practice, none of that matters. It's all good to claim that we need a working class revolution that seizes the means of production, but how do we actually create those strong organizations to catalyze that moment? Luckily, there's so much we can learn from organizers on the ground right now, like abolitionists Mariame Kaba and Kelly Hayes. Their book, Let This Radicalize You, is an essential resource for potential organizers seeking to build anti-capitalist and care-based power. They reveal that organizing and creating movements to topple capitalism is about building strong relationships. For them and their co-struggler Agiris Dixon, relationship building is as much a politic as their commitment to abolition is, or their commitment to anti-capitalism. Building deep connections so that when crisis hits, you and your comrades can respond and support each other and your surrounding communities is crucial. But building relationships also means connecting with those that you might not see eye to eye with. As Hayes and Kaba remind us, we are trying to create movements rather than clubhouses. This means being generous to yourself and others, releasing cynicism.
Ditch cynicism. Cynicism is like turbo fuel for the opposition.
And embracing the messiness and mistakes of building something. Because the reality is that we'll need a vast array of people coming from all different walks of life to come together to topple capitalism. As Kaba and Hayes go on to explain, put simply, we need more people. Organizing on the scale that our struggle demands means finding common ground with a broad spectrum of people, many of whom we would never otherwise interact with, and building a shared practice of politics in the pursuit of more just outcomes. Unfortunately, under capitalism, we've been coached through pervasive narratives of individualism, racism, and constant alienation from work and community that we should fear others. Overcoming this fear and diving into movement work is a radical act.
So I think people need to experience the power of solidarity in order to understand that other people who we've been coached to fear are actually our best hope.
When we create that mutual aid organization that works with workers' movements and direct action groups, we are building a culture of belonging and support that bucks the norms of capitalist individualism. Kaba and Hayes urge us to build strength through deep connection, not divisiveness. Much like a tightly knit wool sweater, movements thrive when those within it actually care about each other and the demands they're fighting for. If we aren't building power with those strong foundations, if we've neglected the sweater, the weave of that sweater loosens and the wind cuts right through. The movement becomes brittle and can easily fall apart. Ultimately though, the best thing we can do is just start. Don't let perfection get in the way of action. We should approach the process of anti-racist, anti-capitalist, ecological world building with a stance of curiosity, not perfection.
I'm gonna move from armchair critiquing everything, and I'm just gonna dive in to doing some stuff, getting messy, making mistakes, using those mistakes to build the other thing in a better, stronger way.
Joining up with organizations and movements in your area is the only way to start achieving and building that post-capitalist plan. The world will never change through Twitter or the YouTube comment section, for that matter. But if you are sitting behind a keyboard wondering where to start, the good news is that you don't have to start from scratch. There are already movements and organizations doing the work. Movements that you can plug into to start building towards an anti-capitalist ecological future. The sun blazed high in the sky and smoke clouds billowed from nearby power plants as massive bodies clad in all-white jumpsuits headed to block a future of devastation. In Germany, the insurgent climate movement Ende Gelände, or Here and No Further in English, is storming lignite coalfields straight out of the apocalypse.
Hundreds of climate activists have broken through a police line and stormed one of Germany's biggest lignite coal mines.
Across the country, the group connects the horrors of fossil capitalism to the destruction of climate change with their direct actions and climate camps. What began as a collection of leftist climate-oriented activists dedicated to a direct action campaign to shut down coal mining in the Rhineland region of Germany has now blossomed into a powerful movement wreaking havoc on German fossil capitalists' bottom line. Ende Gelände is an instructive example of anti-capitalist climate justice organizing. In many ways, the scope, planning, and actions of the climate group reflect the lessons and radical theories we just learned about. The group plans roughly one major action a year, like blockading a brown coal excavator in 2019.
About 1,000 activists have entered that mine today in the afternoon, and now it's a standoff between them and police down there in that mine.
Or the defense and occupation of Lützerath 2023, a German hamlet condemned to destruction because of a proposed coalfield expansion.
The plan is for the town to be demolished as soon as Wednesday to make way for the expansion of a mine that produces 25 million tons of lignite every year, the most polluting of all coal types.
And it seems that part of the success of the movement has come from its use of climate camps. Months beforehand, actions are announced, and climate camps spring up to not only plan out tactics and logistics, but also to forge bonds, develop politics, and learn from others. Much in the same way that the college encampments that rose up across the world for Palestine were nodes for young organizers to test ideas and develop relationships, these climate camps are convergence points for the German and international anti-capitalist climate justice movement. These camps are just as crucial for building power as blockading a coal excavator is. But Ende Gelände's camps and blockades would not happen without their thorough planning and decision-making process. Every few months, the group holds big open alliance planning sessions. Open to all, these planning sessions rely on smaller working groups to develop logistics and more specific agendas to then bring to the broader coalition for final decisions. These working groups tackle areas like finance, actions, camp logistics, media and messaging, and more. And when it does come time to make decisions, the people of Ende Gelände strive to create plans through consensus. In a pamphlet outlining their organizing principles, Ende Gelände note that they take a lot of time to make decisions. At the large-scale alliance meetings, they open up decision points and agenda items for debate, and voting doesn't come down to just agreeing or disagreeing. Instead, there are 6 levels to which people can assign themselves. These range from full-scale agreement to agreement with major concerns, all the way to vetoing the measure. The goal of all of this is to reach some form of consensus among everyone before moving forward. And all the while, Ende Gelände strives to minimize exclusionary barriers to the decision process, like male-dominated speech behavior, rooms that are not wheelchair accessible, a lack of awareness for racism in their structures, academic language, dependency on translation, plenary sessions that are too long, and many more. This is the scaffolding holding up those more public-facing and flashy direct actions. 6,000 people could never have blockaded a coalfield without organizing, decision-making agreements, and logistics teams. So as much as we need to be directly attacking fossil capital through blockades, direct action, and sabotage, we also need to understand that the slow work of building relationships and organization through things like climate camps and planning sessions is just as, if not more, important. Ende Gelände, however, is by no means special. Again and again, we've seen the power of encampments, strong organization, and deep relationships when it comes to direct action and building anti-fossil capitalist power. The Dakota Access Pipeline encampments and the broader No DAPL movement are another example of how anti-capitalist and anti-settler colonial power can be built. In Our History is the Future, scholar activist Nick Estes describes the extensive organization and beauty of the Ochete Chacoan camp. one of the 3 encampments on the front lines of the 2016 Dakota Access Pipeline blockade action. He writes, the main camp was a fully functioning city. At its height, there were about 13 free camp kitchens and half a dozen medic tents, a fully functioning day school where education centered treaties, language, culture, and land and water defense, and there were non-violent direct action trainings hosted daily, and even a legal tent. 2 spirited people and women held leadership roles in all aspects of camp life. But importantly, this camp was there to disrupt the construction of the Dakota Access oil pipeline, to directly attack the bottom line of settler colonial fossil capitalists, to protect the water and land of the Missouri River. At the peak of the camp's resistance, actions were organized almost every day. When there were actions, the Eapaha, essentially the town crier, rode through the camp on a bicycle, a horse, or in the back of a pickup, rousing people from slumber. They would say, "You didn't come here to sleep. This ain't a vacation. We came here to stop a pipeline." And for many months, they did. Bodies on the line, braving attack dogs, chemical weapons, rubber bullets, and grievous wounds, those indigenous to Standing Rock and their comrades successfully delayed the construction of the pipeline. Unfortunately, the power of fossil capital eventually prevailed. Trump took office in 2017 and greenlit the proposed section of the pipeline. Within 6 months of it coming online, the pipeline had already leaked 5 times. While defeats and setbacks abound, each action, each encampment is a lesson learned, a comrade met, and power grows. This is at the heart of building strength to topple capitalism, so that when the conditions are right, organizers, comrades, and activists can be on the scene to provide a beautiful alternative to the destruction of capitalism. In the fall of 2023, after a hard-fought battle against the big 3 US auto companies, the United Auto Workers Union announced an ambitious plan, one that hasn't been seen in countless decades of US labor organizing. The UAW will spearhead a massive general strike starting on May 1st, 2028.
We invite unions around the country to align your contract expirations with our own, so that together we can begin to flex our collective muscles.
Calling on all US labor unions to join them, the United Auto Workers aligned their most recent contract to end on May 1st, and with its cessation, they will begin a strike on an unprecedented scale in modern US labor history. But what makes this action so promising is that while the UAW set the vision, soon after, the American Federation of Teachers heeded the call. And now climate groups like the Sunrise Movement are aligning themselves with the 2028 general strike, spearheading a student strike for climate across the country, as well as assuring that demands for the general strike foreground the climate crisis. This is organizing in action. It's a concrete goal that organizers across the country and even the world can work towards. And you can take steps to join in this fight right now. If you're already in a union, join its rank and file caucus, figure out when your contract ends, and begin organizing to change that date to May 1st, 2028. And if you're not in a union, consider organizing your workplace so that you all can be ready to strike for change in 2028. Or even if you're searching for a job, perhaps consider going into a field with unionized workers, like driving for municipal transportation or becoming a dock worker. The general strike in 2028 is a perfect reason to start the needed work in your area right now. Even if it's just connecting and organizing with community institutions like your church, mosque, or even a mutual aid group, so that they are prepared to provide necessities and care for those affected by a mass strike. And if you're totally lost or don't know where to start, you can link up with 10 friends or coworkers and sign up for the free Organizing for Power training using the link below before the registration deadline on February 2nd. Because the reality is that an end to capitalism and a truly ecological world cannot be built without immense organization and personal struggle. We need to challenge ourselves to escape the comfort of Netflix and TikTok and get out into the real world and start building something. It's wonderful to talk about and imagine what an eco-socialist or solar punk future could look like. But until we start getting out there and building, those dreams will continue to exist in our heads. This isn't easy work, and putting yourself out there can be incredibly scary. Doubts about whether you're good enough, know enough, or virtuous enough abound. But as much as it can be scary to put yourself out there and plug in, it can also be liberating. liberating from the grief of a dying world as you commune with comrades, liberating as you find support in a time of need from others in your organizing space. The reality is that there are so many different ways you can bring yourself to this struggle. The world needs you and your talents. That local organization needs you and your passion. Whether you're a writer, extrovert, or an artist, ask what needs doing and see how you can apply yourself to those tasks. And if you're ever confused about where to start, consider these guiding questions from Kaba and Hayes. What resources exist so I can better educate myself? Who's already doing the work? Do I have the capacity to offer concrete support and help them? And how can I be constructive? You don't have to be Sisyphus. You don't have to push that boulder up the hill alone. We are here. Together, we are not only stronger, but more resilient than when we are siloed and alone. The world, the environment, and our communities are much more joyous places when we are linked. To end capitalism then, to build a future based on the needs of the people and the planet, we have to organize a movement of movements. One built by and for working people across race, ability, gender, and identities. One whose deep connections and relationships show that building infrastructures of care is building power. That a future without extractive violence, ecological destruction, and alienation is not only possible, but essential to ourselves and our planet's well-being. While that future is bright and inviting, we also need to focus in on immediate harm reduction strategies in the here and now. And in my opinion, one of the more useful tools in our toolbox to alleviate suffering and show solidarity is direct cash transfers. While nowhere near the level of systemic change that we actually need to solve underlying issues pulling people into extreme poverty, giving money directly to people who need it with no strings attached is one way to empower people to lift themselves out of that poverty while we work towards changing our broken system in the long term. That's why I've teamed up with Give Directly alongside a group of fellow Nebula creators like Simon Clark, FD Signifier, and Princess Weeks to facilitate direct cash transfers to a community in Baringo County, Kenya. By the end of the year, we're hoping to raise $155,000 to distribute to 690 people in the community. The way it works is quite simple. Everyone in the village who wants to enroll receives a SIM card and a phone if they don't have one, and then a first payment is transferred to everyone's mobile wallet. Then the Give Directly team checks in to make sure that there are no issues before the rest of the cash is transferred with another follow-up after. That money can be used for whatever needs or wants, whether it be for chemo treatments, home repairs, buying goats, or starting new businesses like beekeeping. The unfortunate reality of living under capitalism is that cash is essential to survive, which means that these direct money transfers help build community and climate resilience. This is exactly the case in the neighboring village of Bulacion in Baringo County, which also received large cash transfers. Those payments helped people like Joseph not just survive punishing drought conditions, but also allowed him to expand his grazing operations. Those direct cash transfers meant that the community had enough funds to build adequate housing and water tanks so that a lack of rain wouldn't immediately spell disaster. Since 2009, when they started, these large cash transfers have improved mental health and child health outcomes, as well as increased household income by 34%. So if you're interested in reducing the harm of climate change and global capitalism, consider directly funding resiliency by going to givedirectly.org/OCC or click the link in the description.
A bit more hopeful. You definitely. There you go. Let me get the things again. Yeah. Oh, there you go. That was the two videos I wanted to show. Thoughts?
You first.
You don't have to.
It's very interesting. Like the comparison of these two and the last one there, it kind of throws this like incredibly heavy link together that like there's fascists can exist without capitalism, but capitalism directly benefits fascists.
Yeah.
Right? Like, essentially, it creates a scaffolding power structure. Because, like, with capitalism, the only way to rise to the top is to abuse every resource under you, whether it be workers, whether it be natural resources, whether it just be general people, right? And so anyone who gets to a position of power is either a fascist or directly benefits from them and accepts that. So, like,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
it's fucked.
Yep. And I mean, also just generally, like the basic link is basically the first one is like just fucking wake up at this time right now. This is bad. And to answer the second one is to kind of answer the question, especially since like I like this. I like a lot the quote about like it's nice to think about like an eco-socialist, like eco-punk, like a solar punk environment through like I don't know like some like art pieces and stuff like that. Everyone loves those, right? It's very 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 like cool and stuff. You kind of want to live in those kind of things. Well, it's possible. We already imagined those, but how to get there? And what I was gonna say is I forgot. I lost my my thoughts. But yeah, basically, we can do these kind of things. There's a lot of like things to be done. There's a lot of groups to join. It doesn't have to be political group. It can be unions. It can be direct action groups. It can be a fuck ton of things, and it is also why I consider myself like my own work in VR chat as politically inclined, because it is a word that built exactly that, those kind of strong emotion bounds. It's like it always has been my kind of like thing, like to just destroy this sense of alienation. And that we do see a lot in VR chat, I think, in my opinion, like with the community that we see, or like that exists, and how this community as a whole, like the VR chat community as a whole, is just working together and understanding a few things, and working together for supporting each other's. Sometimes, yeah. There you go. What's up, Luxini? Do you want to say anything?
To be honest, like the part where the first video where who's the rapper called again? I forgot the name
H-Tone,
already.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a rapper, but it's like it's more like a social media guy that did like a bunch of like very short videos about basically just bashing with like very ghetto rapper like rhetorics and stuff like that, which is very fucking convincing and very cathartic. But yeah, what's up?
Like, anyways, yeah. On the first video, like I agree with the guy. Like, I like, to be honest, like right now, I don't, well, not needing, but it's more like I have heard plenty enough of how the world right now is kind of fucked, especially in America, with how they literally elect Donald Trump, and then Elon Musk with him. Elon Musk is a fascist at this point, so it's like we're like America is already fucked right now. So I am more looking through what are some of the solutions and like what I can do in an individual capacity and as a and possibly as a community to fight back these these fascists and stuff like that, right? So the second video is quite hopeful, but I have one question though. Like in that second video, they say that for a better environment, you need to do things like block the road or like demonstrating and maybe get into the coal mine and stuff like that, right? Like these are actions that are very that are disruptive to the disruptive to capitalism, but at the same time within me there's this little bit of fear, a little bit of fear where I don't want to get arrested for doing something like that. So what do you do you have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Go ahead, Callie. If you
I
want.
thought, thank you, teacher.
No, don't say that. It's weird.
One of the One of the things that they brought up there for a while there was talking about, like, you know, it's not just that direct action, but, you know, things like the forming of the communities is very important. The like ability to spread the message and whatnot. Like, we have a real massive problem at the moment that because all of the media is controlled by money, like it's really hard for messages to go through popular places, and also, you know, there's so much fucking propaganda out there that it's absolutely ridiculous. The thing
That
that
is true.
resonated with me in that second one is like them talking about, like, you know, if you have existing skills that you can leverage to help things like that. And like one of the things that popped up there for me was like talking about writing and whatnot, and how like removing overly academic and complex terms and making it as consumable as possible is like very helpful for like being able to reach other people as well. And like to build a community, you also need to have that reach, and you also need to be able to have more people in there and whatnot. So like there's so many fucking ways and so many like parts to the whole community that exist that, you know, there's always something you can be doing. That's my thought.
There's always something you can be doing, but I'm not gonna sugarcoat it either. As soon as you get flagged as anti-capitalist and any kind of form of progressive, you will get backlash in some ways. If you are very threatening to the state, yes, you will have issue with law enforcement, because that's what cops are, by the way. ACAB. But it's like, this is kind of a given, right? If basically, I do take it as like, it shows that you're doing the right thing in a way, because it's not because, well, if you get persecuted for your thing, for the thing you fight for like, you know, progressive measures, then that kind of shows that the thing is actually like possible, and it scares the wrong people. And so, yeah, there's a lot of things you can help in. For example, I will always kind of say that people that work, for example, in VR dancing, for the staffing, I do consider it as kind of a political action. It's not the most obvious one, but with the sense of community building, it is creating something, right? It is opening the opportunity for a lot of people to think about those kind of issues. So already this is kind of a thing. Then you can work on, like, I don't know, for example, if you're a developer, in my city, we have like two, but we have basically websites that are like hosted by people, and it's like, nowadays they're open source actually, but it's like a calendar for like any kind of actions, and so people can submit any kind of action, and it then is being shown to a calendar where people can get what it is, which group is doing this, when it is, etc., where the location are, and it is kind of like, you know, building strong connection. It is like one of like those kind of like working together, multiple groups things. It is very useful for me, for example, right? Because when I want to go like to a thing, I just usually look to this calendar, which is something that is not existent on many, if not most, cities. So like, if you want to be like, if you are scared of cops, which is completely understandable, you can do these kind of things. Same thing for climate camps. We have multiple ones in France that existed. We actually have our own group. So this was which the group that was shown here is also like adjacent to Extinction Rebellion, which is an international group. In France, we have like kind of a more radical one, because Extinction Rebellion is kind of on the sense of no violence, and in France, this kind of evolved into a bigger group that is Les Soulèvements de la Terre, which is like uprising of the ground. That means basically that, and that had like some very shocking events, shocking actions where there was like, Molotovs and like people getting, put into coma by the cops. There was these kind of things that exist, but usually in climate camp and stuff like that, one, there's people who stay behind because they have PTSD towards cops, for example. Or there's also multiple groups that you can get affiliated to. The one that are going to be more determined to do some stuff, and the other one that are going to be more friendly, family-friendly kind of thing. This never means that it is safe, right? Because at the end of the day, in front of you, you have cops. And they have weapon of war. So that's kind of the issue overall, all the time. You will always have this issue and this thing in the back of your mind. And in fact, the scare that you feel right now is a weapon. It literally is a weapon to stop people from doing actions. Like, for example, you get scared of doing anything, of going out on the street because you might lose an eye. My city, it happened a few times. You might, end up on a wheelchair because of cops. And because they're so free to do whatever the fuck they want, well, then this reality is here. And so there's multiple ways to say, like, to protect ourselves. There's also legal teams. So if you were like scared about legal things, if you get put into like custody for whatever reasons, because cops can just put you in custody in most places, in most Western world, for like at least like maybe 1 or 2 days, then you should have contact or understand that, maybe in your vicinity there's like a legal team and like a lawyer that can help for free. Those kind of things exist and are a backbone of everything. But yes, the scare is very much here, and this is also why usually people that do actions or get involved into things are only like doing it step by step. You don't go full on like, all right, anti-fascist, like full black bloc protests, and you're gonna fucking fight against like a fascist, and you're just gonna throw stone at them or like bricks and shit like that. That's not like, no one gets to that point that fast. Usually it's like it's more like small things, like, we are gonna stick some flyers to publicly allowed places where you can stick stuff, and then you get to know people. And this is why relationship is so important, because when you do those actions, you get to meet people and you get to grow your network, your group. I personally have now connection a bit everywhere in my city for those kind of actions, right? And it's always interesting to see how like everyone just move around. But yeah, usually it's kind of the thing I said. The thing that you see often is like people will get into climate actions, like for example posters, or like in my city we have like a group that is Alternativa, which is basically they're opening up like the big ad billboards on like bus stops and stuff like that. The key is actually it's a standard key fob that you can get. And so you open this, you remove the ad, and you put like something like anti-ad or like climate thing in front of it. So this utilize artists. This utilize people that wants to do it like for during the night, etc. And you can do that, and usually they do that during protests. It's kind of funny. So for example, like they would like target some ads beforehand, like for example the McDonald's ad, and they would just open it up. Sometimes just add some stuff onto it, like for example McDonald's like put blood on it, or like all these kind of things. Well, fake blood, but yeah. And have like some like very shocking things. Or sometimes just say ad block, like a big hashtag ad block into the thing. And then, so they do that initially, but then after that, they get to meet someone that is a bit more radical. And then if they are comfortable into going for another thing, and they like do a commune, for example, in my region, well, near my region, there was like this big commune that happened for multiple years to blockade an airport construction. That was much more radical. People lived on that camp for multiple years, and it led to eventually the state being found guilty of building this airport, so it was completely gone, abandoned. But yes, at the end of the day, this was a very cool vibes, etc. People had a very it was a very fun action, a very cool action where people lived together, built strong relationship, basically like this climate camp for multiple years. To this day, I still meet some people that were there at that event for a few months, for example, and still remember it fondly, and moved around in France and built those kind of encampment strategy elsewhere. But it is still, and I'm gonna just hammer the thing again, this very encampment, actually someone died because the cops threw a grenade in the encampment. And that happened. Because at the end of the day, in front of you, there's still weapons of war. And if you're hurting the bottom line, you will always be on the receiving end. That's it. Be safe. That's what I mean. Like, you want to be safe. You want to hear your feelings, how you feel. I did multiple action where the adrenaline kicks in, and then you still you go forward and you continue. And then when you crash back at home, you just realize what happened and you go in full breakdown. That happens. It is something that is unfortunate. I'm still personally happy to have done it. I also have done nothing bad. I've not done anything illegal personally. Of course, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't say otherwise anyway, but it's just I literally genuinely didn't do anything illegal, but that doesn't stop me from getting shot. It is what it is. It's part of the deal. But at the end of the day, I think
you do get shot. You do get shot before?
I did get shot by a rubber bullet. Yeah. And my
oh my god. Okay.
in more, but it's fine. It's fine. It's better there than in the head or somewhere else. Why did I get shot? I don't know. I was walking. But so it is what it is. Do consider that also the fact that I usually go in the most risky places. I don't do anything illegal, but I also go at the front end of a protest, which is, the riskiest. But at the end of the day, if you in the back or in a union and stuff like that, usually you'll be fine. To me, in a protest line, I go in the front because I get to film cops. This is what I do. On my Discord, you might have seen it. I record cops a lot. If I get any kind of thing that is illegal, I can send it to people. But also, it's just a power move, to record cops, to remind them they're being watched, right? And then you do it back as well because they also record me. So I have a recording where we stand with a cop there, for a while. It's dumb as fuck. But I do that because also the front is interesting to me. The radicalism is interesting to me. This is where the action happens. And I don't go to the back with the union usually because this is very boring to me. Sometimes it's very boring. But there in this, so you either have the sensational action at the front that is risky, that have clashing with the cops. But at the back, you have the more, relationship building kind of part, which I don't necessarily want sometimes. But yeah, sometimes I am going to be at the back end of a protest, especially if I represent my union. And then I'm going to talk with people and oh, you're from there. Oh, what's how's your things happening, etc. You learn a lot from other people. And it's always been a very pleasant experience for me. But yeah, that's basically it. There's a lot of ways to do it safely. It is just very much about how you feel about your own capabilities, and there's nothing wrong with listening to like feelings and feeling overwhelmed and just ditch. Because at the end of the day, that happens a lot. I've seen in protests people having a breakdown because like of gas, etc. I have personally no issue with gas. Like tear gas doesn't really affect me that much. I just go in apnea. Like I just stop breathing and I close my eyes very much. I have like pretty long eyelashes, so it's like it prevents it. And I don't wear mascara or whatever, so that also prevents like tear gas to go very fuck you up to fuck you up a lot. But I've seen people who panic, feel like they can't breathe because you really can't, and just go in full crazy mode. And it is about knowing your limits. It is about knowing how you respond to things. So I can't tell you. I can't give you an answer. I can't give you an answer for your own country.
No.
I can't give. But there's many
that's
other actions. There's many other actions.
Answer, yeah.
I know that like most people that I talk to usually go for like actual political groups. I am personally not so keen on joining political groups personally, because then you start. Well, I'm not a social democrat. That's why. Let's say it like that. I do think reforms are good, but I do think in this second video, I agree on it. It's like you need an actual revolution, because when you do like reforms, then they get broken down again by capitalism. And so I'm not a social democrat. I do not. Well, not all political groups are social democrats on the left, of course, but most of them still play the electoral game, right? Because there's not really much of a political group that is anti-political groups, right? There's like not really any kind of. It's very rare to see like a political group that reach to see like parliament places or presidency, and that are just generally against political group as a whole and like political institution and like the professionalization of the political class. So it's another topic, but basically a lot of people just think about politics and is equal political groups. It's not necessarily. There's unions, there's there's organization, there's like, even in the video you mentioned like your church, your mosque, you can help in those kind of like situations, as long as it's building relationship and it is tackling the alienation and the individualism. Then you will instantly get some people that understand that the strength of community is bigger than thinking you will succeed or whatever, like individually. You need people, other people. Like the world around us has always been done and made by a big, huge collection of people. That's it. There's nothing really done individually. This is also why I'm very radical on that idea, but I don't think on individual success. I just don't believe that's an actual thing. It's just like you will always rely on someone, and there's always some layers of that. Anyway, I'm way over 1 hour. It's been 1 hour 30. So that's about it. I am gonna link all the videos on my Discord. I have probably the recording will go live as well. I do know that some people wanted to check it out later. Always remember, wait, hold up. Even though this video, those videos were about fighting back and taking on the street, taking on actions, participating everywhere, it is always, always, always super important to remember one of those 4 questions that the last video talks about is like, who's doing the work. There's like, how can I help? How can I be constructive? And if I can help. This is the most important one, because at the end of the day, this is not about guilt tripping people into doing the actions, because that doesn't serve any purpose. People have to. It has to come from within, and it has to come from a comprehension of like everyone's own individual capacity. We all have our own different energy levels. Some people are going to be very extroverted. Some people are very introverted. Some people may have some health condition that that doesn't allow them to do some stuff. I know many people that are do suffer from like condition that like very much just take away all of their energy, and then feel bad because they can't do the thing outside. It is fine. Like at the end of the day, you always have to think about what is possible for you, because a militant burnout is the worst shit ever. All right, we always talk about how a burnout is bad in the working space. Let me get here. Like the fucking militant burnout, it's the worst thing ever, and we don't want that because that's just against your own principles. Anyway, that's about it. Thank y'all. If you have any other questions, feel free. But otherwise, I'm gonna close off the stream. I don't really have much.
Honestly,
in the chat.
no. I have plenty to think about. Yeah, I have plenty to think about it.
Well, especially Lux, since
So
you watch
thanks.
also Noam Chomsky like just today as well. You watch back to back, so that's a
Yeah.
lot. It's something you need to digest, definitely. Okay. Well, Callie, do you have anything? Otherwise, no? Alright. Well, I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm gonna continue on playing my my political playlist. Let's see what I have. What good song I have to finish it off. Christo fascist. Oh, that's pretty good. Christian nationalists. There you go. That's pretty good. From Anti-Flag. I love Anti-Flag. Very good group. What? No, they're very good. I really enjoy it. All right. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll wrap it up.
No, thank you. No, thank
And
you for organizing this.
I'll think about another topic next one. In the future will use my own group. So I will use my VRChat group so people can get into the instance through the group, and in that group I will pick people that I want. Basically, I would like just tag people as like stream safe, and it will be only like a stream safe environment. Just because the group is public, but I want to still like control who can get in and who cannot. If there's other topics, I'm very political. I try to keep up as much as I can. So if something happens in the near future, I might have another lecture. Or lecture, fucking hell, holy shit, I hate that. But if I also come up with towards like documents, I am considering. Anarchy was created in France, like the principle of anarchism, and I think it's very like it would be very cool to teach, because I have a lot of compassion for anarchism, but that would be heavy. That would be like 8-hour documentary, and it would be in French. I don't know how I'm gonna do that, because outside of France, it's like the documents about anarchism is not really great in my opinion. But I have like this kind of document that is like literally like multiple hours long. There's multiple parts, and it's so fucking cool because like it's like the history of anarchism, how it was basically the first group that fought against the Nazis, and how during the Cold War they were basically just erased from history, from both, you know, the capitalist core and the communist core, because things happen in Cold War, and ever since anarchism is seen as like a bad word, and I do think that it's pretty good. Anarchism philosophy is pretty fucking cool. I'm not the most I say I'm not an anarchist, the more I think I am an anarchist at this point. Anyway, but let's not take any kind of like clubhouses, of course. Once again, it's not about clubhouses, all right? Everyone thinks differently. I just do think a lot about anarchism, and it's pretty fucking sweet, and I have a lot of hopes about humanity, so that's also why anarchism works for me. Anyway, take care, have a good one. I need to find someone to raid. You know, it might not be really just super meaningful. Hold up. Otherwise, I'm just sending y'all to Asanabi. Just to continue on the politics. I mean, Hassan is pretty good. I like Hassan. There's a few things I don't agree in. But, I mean, he's a socialist. He's like a normal basic, like American socialist. But I do think he makes very great and entertaining content. I do watch Hassan a lot. It's my most watched streamer because of that. So I'm gonna send you all there basically, and because it's very like easy to digest and it's very fun for me. Asanabi is like kind of like this is kind of serious matter. Asanabi is like just news, politics, but fun because the guy is funny to me. That's it. Anyway, I'm gonna send you all there and I'm gonna close the screen. Thank you again for everyone that stopped around. The camera is right there if people want to wave. Otherwise, goodbye. And okay, I need to make this more cozy as well. I need fairy light, I need like some stuff, but it's gonna build up throughout the things. As like maybe I get reach and stuff like that. We'll like, you know, role play about like having more funding or whatever. All right, take care. Have a good one. Tac. Close this.
Let's go.
Escaping the American attraction. A bait and switch that's gonna thrill you with distraction. It sounds so good you can't resist the satisfaction. When it's all over, you'll be crying, I'll be lying.